Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and I'll be hosting this episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian, as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 4. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. And with that, I think it's time to get this show started. Let's go. Now, before we get too deep into this review, we have a special guest in our presence.
Very
tonight.
special guest.
Very excited to have a very special guest.
We are. We had Charlie throughout Book of Boba Fett, and we had Tim throughout Duel of the Ranks, but we haven't had.
Bad Batch.
Wow.
He was on Duel of the Ranks just for Bad Batch. I've already forgot. I didn't like that show so much. It just will not utter its
Hey, save it.
I
Slander.
know. But today on Duel of the Ranks, we have a very special guest, friend of our own, our friend Luke from the Pod Ones podcast. Drum roll, please. And here's the man
out.
himself.
Hello there.
Luke.
Hello there.
Hello
Obi-Wan
there.
Kenobi here.
Is that Ewan McGregor himself in the flesh in front of us?
I've been told, but I like to call myself the Walmart version of Ewan McGregor. I've got a dad bod, and I've got the facial hair. I got the hair, but I'm going for honestly.
Enough tequila though.
No, yeah. Honestly, I'm going for the Attack of the Clones mullet here. If I can grow it, I'm gonna do it.
I know. I said back in our Attack of the Clones episode that I think that the Padawan braid should be brought back.
Oh,
Bring back the
I had
braids,
to edit
bring
that
back
recently.
the mullets.
No,
Luke, you got a pretty good cosplay going too, man. You can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a word. Honestly, the Kenobi one was just like last minute. I wasn't planning on. Hi. I wasn't planning on going to do. I was just gonna do Revenge of the Sith, and then I saw what he was wearing for Kenobi, and I was just like, you know what? It doesn't look that hard, and it was easy to put together. So last minute, I put that on, and that's what I met. That's what I wore when I met Ewan.
Nice.
So
That's so cool.
A comment here from Alanis who says a Walmart version is accurate. Well, Walmart's just like McDonald's, very convenient, does a lot of things when you need it to. It serves a lot of purposes.
They're around.
Yeah,
they're around. No, I think Walmart's pretty great, and Luke, I think it does a disservice to even say you're the Walmart version. For me, you're like Target version.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more
Upscale.
bougie. I'm a little bit more bougie.
A little
Yeah.
more.
Okay.
bougie.
you're the
what I'm
Kirkland
saying.
brand. You need
If
like a
Walmart-
membership. to
You're like
get
the
it.
Walmart's
good
a five.
find at
All
Burlington
right.
Coat
All
Factory.
If
right.
it was 5 out of 10 stars, you got
Okay.
7.5. Luke. You're
Okay,
doing-
all right.
you're
I'll take
doing
this.
okay.
I'll take the 7.5. I
There you
appreciate
go.
that. I
There you go.
appreciate that.
Well, one thing I really wanted to ask you about before, don't boost his ego. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we keep going, there's a really important thing I want to talk about here because yes, you do somewhat resemble Ewan McGregor because one thing you did try to. You cosplayed as Obi-Wan Kenobi at Star Wars Celebration recently, which is really exciting. None of us have been. We're talking about potentially going to London next year with you and some other people, so it might be a lot of fun. But for the listeners who've never been, like ourselves, what was Star Wars Celebration all about this year? Give us the high-level overview.
So, I mean, Star Wars Celebration is just everybody meeting their internet friends for the first time, and that was probably the one thing that I will say that was so much fun is connecting with those people that you had connected with over a year. And I think that was the best part. I mean, also getting to see panels, getting to see footage early of some of the projects that are coming out.
Yeah.
I think that was a treat.
Okay, I have a question about that. What was the point of showing so much footage for their new projects and not releasing it on social media?
So it's that's what that. Okay,
They're gatekeeping their own content.
Ooh.
So we kind of had an issue with that because not everybody was able to get into the panel. The way it was set up, you would get you had options of which panels you wanted to pick, and you put in a like a not a form, but you filled something out, and then you would have a group code. So if you got that QR code, you were also the other people that jumped on for your group could also go. Well, come to find out, there were people in standby lines and they were just letting them in without QR codes. So we could have gone that first day, but Star Wars Celebration is for the people that are there. That's why the exclusive things were exclusive.
Yeah, there's a reason you gotta get there,
Exactly.
So when are we gonna see the footage?
I would say D23 is probably your best bet on seeing any footage that some people saw. I mean, unless you were fast enough to look on the leaked YouTube footage for everything. So
I was gonna say, they have their live stream on YouTube, showing some cool stuff, and the Andor trailer. I remember.
Yes.
And then I saw some panels would post their YouTube videos pretty shortly after, but I guess it all depends on which panel.
No, yeah. So I mean, we got into a couple of panels. We got into the Attack of the Clones panel, 20th anniversary, which was wild because it was Daniel Logan and Tamora Morrison. It was just them talking almost the entire time. Then Hayden and Ewan showed up later, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
We went to Bad Batch. We got Sunday Bad Batch. So we got to see the exclusive trailer, which was different from what you guys saw.
Okay.
Really?
It was formatted differently. Like in the Bad Batch trailer that you guys got, Palpatine shows up in the middle, whereas we got Palpatine at the end instead of the middle. We got a couple of shots of Cody next to the Imperial and next to where Ahsoka was being held in season 5. That's where he was at the memoriam of the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah.
And it was really cool. We got some close-ups with Crosshair and Cody talking, and Bad Batch is gonna be fun. But the thing that I'm most excited for coming out of Celebration has to be Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Tales of the Jedi is gonna be so awesome. We got to watch the first episode.
Wow.
And
how long of an episode was it?
I would say 15 minutes. They're supposed to be shorts.
Yeah.
But it's 15 minutes. And it's 3 episodes of Ahsoka and then 3 episodes of Count Dooku. When he was a Jedi. So you're gonna get
is he gonna duel more CGI creatures?
He's a political idealist.
No, this is before he's a political idealist. This is in between. This is a little bit before Dooku Jedi Lost.
Cool.
The audio drama. So you'll get to hear both Liam Neeson and his son play a young Qui-Gon Jinn.
Wow.
So we got that, and also during the trailer there was a moment where so you get baby Ahsoka, then you're gonna get middle Clone Wars, in between seasons Ahsoka, then you're going to get Ahsoka from the Ahsoka novel.
Okay. All right.
And that's kind of where they're going with hers. But there's a scene from the trailer, and it's Anakin saying, and it's Matt Lanter. It's everybody from the Clone Wars back.
Wow.
And he's saying, I have to protect you. I have to train you to protect yourself. And she's surrounded by clone troopers and she's blocking stuns. And then she gets stunned and Anakin goes again. And you just hear that throughout some other clips. And it's just that gave me chills because that's Vader-esque.
Wow.
Doing it. But
now speaking of all things Vader, real quick question before we keep moving on to Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have one final question about Celebration. For those folks who are interested in going, we rank things and we rate things on this show. So from a 1 to a 10, a 1 being I was the worst, 5 being meh, it was fun, 10 being it changed my life spiritually, emotionally, physically, in every way possible.
Yeah.
Where is this this Celebration? Where does it rank for you?
9.5. If I would have gotten into the Thursday panel, it would have been a straight 10.
Wow.
All right. Okay. All right. You heard it here first, folks. go to Star Wars Celebration in London. And if you can't go, well, come back to the States probably the
Live
next year.
stream it if you can.
Live stream it if you can.
Just don't get thrown out, because they were having people walk up and down stairs while exclusive stuff was being shot, because they had leaks of Mando and of Ahsoka happen. So they were really that second day they were really keeping people honest and stuff like that. So
all right. Well, now we know, Christian, if you go there, Amanda and I will just make sure you don't get wild as usual.
Yeah.
A wild one of the group.
Tame me.
Well, with that said, let's go into this very, very milquetoast episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Before I jump in too hard, Christian, I saw your review, and I'd like to hear your perspective because you think it sucks more than I do.
Wow. To be...
Oh, yeah. Well, Amanda, for all of the people who have seen this 6 months from now,
let's do up more anger.
I forget this isn't going to be like, this is on demand for folks, and people a year from now are going to be listen. Okay, Amanda, what was episode 4 all about?
Reva has taken Leia to Fortress Inquisitorius to interrogate her about the path she found on Mapuzo. With the help of a new ally, Roken, Tala is able to sneak into the fortress as an Imperial officer and helps Obi-Wan locate where they are hiding Leia.
All right, now back at it. Christian, why did it suck?
Okay,
wow.
First of all,
brutal.
For our listeners, I've never even spoken about it with Brody yet. I never said it sucked.
Or me.
Or Luke. Or Amanda.
Or any of us, really.
And I've only put my numbers in there. I will say I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. There was some really cool scenes that I rewound and I watched it again. I really liked the back to tank scene. The communication between
you just
them.
always play it so safe with Star Wars fans.
Go
for the throat.
No, you're like pushing me into this corner. Brody's very sarcastic on this show a lot of the time.
Yeah, don't take anything he says too seriously.
Just don't even take me seriously.
Yeah. But I will say my number, it was lower, but going through all the categories, which we'll go through, I think the story was just the lowest number for me because I felt like this was a filler fluff episode, and it was kind of just disappointing in that regard, where it's like, we've only got 6 episodes, folks. I was kind of hoping for a different viewership of development for Kenobi or all these other things, but I totally I get what they were doing with it, but it's like we're rescuing Leia for a second time.
You gave it a 60%.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you can question me on any one of those.
I gave it the highest review in the group.
I will explain why. But it doesn't mean there were things I didn't like about it. And I loved seeing Vader storm. He looked his mask looked like he was pissed off.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be happy.
Yeah, it just looked like when he was storming in fast, I was like, dang, he's really coming at her.
Mad.
Yeah.
He's a coming.
So there were things I liked about it. But I think overall, ranking it within the context, it's part 4 of 6. I was hoping we would have gotten a little more meat to it, but...
Oh, yeah, they didn't try. The writers did a bad job. Let's just call it what it is.
Wow.
No, they didn't do a good job. This episode was 39 minutes long. Are you come on, Stranger Things is hitting it out of the park, 10 out of 10 every single time. An hour and 15 minutes. They know how to write a story. The writers didn't know what to do, and they stuck to 39 minutes because they're like, well, I mean, shoot, we can't start anything. We can't end anything. Let's just play it safe and let's do a quick extraction story.
We got some good swimming shots.
Let's hear it, Luke.
Hold on here. All right. Writers. Okay, we have to explain this first though. Okay. So here's the thing. You can praise the writers when they do right, and then you can bash them when they do wrong. But here's the thing. The writers aren't the say all. There's a ladder here. The writers can only write so much. It has to go through the execs. It has to go through
That's fair.
And they have to go through the thing. Now, Christian, filler, absolutely not.
Oh,
no way. This moves the plot forward. Okay,
a little bit.
So Obi-Wan at this point is still he's gone against Vader, and we have to get him to a point to where he's getting back to form. And that's the part that I loved about this episode, is that we're starting to see more of him come back and connect with the Force. I get
Really
everybody's
fast.
gripes. I get everybody's gripes. But I think what we're missing here is that it's Star Wars, right? There are things that you're not going to absolutely love, and that's fine.
Oh yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's just I personally don't love the word filler, because then it dissociates what the entire episode is trying to do. You know what I mean?
Things are removed.
Yeah, so
I disagree with that too, by the way. But
you disagree with what?
I mean, I don't think the writers did a good job. I think they dropped the ball, and I will go into that
You
more.
think it's a filler episode?
No, I don't.
Oh, I think
it's-
the writing was great.
Well, Amanda, what's yours?
Yeah, what's your take?
Well, my take is the story was like a little bit safer, sure, in that sense that I guess the stakes were high with Obi-Wan getting back into the fortress, but that wasn't like the main challenge at hand. What stole the show for me this episode was every scene with Riva and Leia in it. Like that was the best and most rewarding relationship that we've seen. You're getting to understand both of those characters so much more, and finally seeing Leia using the Force more, like that alone makes this whole series like so valuable to me, to see tiny little Leia pushing out this like amazing Sith Inquisitor out of her brain, and like it's nothing. She's like, "Are we on a staring contest?" I was like,
Yeah, like typical
that
Skywalker.
I did absolutely love that, because it's like everybody has those the chase scene, right, in the first episode. Everybody didn't like that. I get that, but like we also have to remember she is Force sensitive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
Inquisitors must be kind of weak too.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's shown. I feel like people are looking at it from a different, like they're looking at it from they forget the story is even irrelevant, sometimes. And like that's the thing that I enjoyed the most from this episode is that yes, it wasn't we didn't get Clone Wars flashbacks. We didn't get the Quinlan Voss drop, but like let's be real here. That's going to overshadow everything that Obi-Wan's trying to do anyway.
And it would feel disjointed if the story just took a massive like direction and like forgot about Leia. And I think it makes sense that they are staying with this core group of characters, because you know that it's essentially one movie's worth of a story told over 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, to that point, I think her name is Vivian Lee Blair, who plays little Leia. Like you got to see so much of her acting chops this episode, and I'm just so in love with her on screen. Great. She's fantastic, and how her light and Riva's dark just paired so well in those scenes.
Yes, and I mean, everybody was like, did they push the boundary? This episode was supposed to be like a horror film.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that.
The tomb scene, the lighting,
it was dark.
Oh yeah, that was dark.
Like,
that was
dark. And then her getting, and then they flip from her being basically what happened to Trilla is what Riva was going to do to Leia. Like the stakes are there. See, that's why I don't like the whole the filler thing. Just is it just doesn't seem
that really
right
bothered you, man.
It does.
I hope you're all right.
No, I'm fine. It's just I hear a lot of people say filler, and it just does disservice to the people that are actually working on these shows.
Agreed.
Alana says little Leia does carry so much justice. I tear up every time she's on screen. I feel the same way.
I don't tear up, but I appreciate
my heart like is about to burst open.
What can I say? I bring
we have another comment that says Luke wrote this episode.
That
explains it.
And here's the thing. Like I get why people are moaning and groaning, but there's only so much they can do.
See,
Come
that's
on
the thing. I
now.
don't want to talk about them because I'm not moaning and groaning.
Yeah.
We're not talking
See,
about.
yeah,
People
we're not
who are
talking about
moaning and groaning.
those folks.
And,
We
like,
are the only
yeah,
reviewers
yeah.
that matter.
Yeah.
We are the
that's
ones with the
true.
rankings, the
That's
ratings.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
The category I ranked the highest was the technical aspects because it looked cool. It
Yeah.
looked great.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love the water moon,
And even that, you only gave an 80%.
and like
That's
it
a
was-
good score.
It's a 4 out of 5, Brody.
Stop trying to instigate
Calm
things.
down.
I'm just saying. I think it's
Jeez.
better than you gave it credit for. Is all I'm saying. We do have decimals, my man. We do. You could use a decimal from time to time.
I
Yeah,
used
didn't.
decimals in
But
3
every-
of the other categories.
So you forgot this one? What happened? What happened?
Anyways, there are things I liked about it. The back to tank scene, it was cool to see
Yes.
the snow speeders coming in and just the whole idea of this being in the Mustafar system and the structure of that, and Obi-Wan using the breather underwater, swimming
Yeah,
again.
that
I
was
was like,
so
man,
cool.
I was like, yes,
Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
yes.
It was,
And so
yeah.
I loved that.
I feel like we also got a Bad Batch nod in that hallway scene. That was kind of the Bad Batch season 1 finale when they're escaping out of the tunnels and
kind of cryptic
Yeah.
no, the tunnels in Camino
underwater.
underground, and they are
It
breaking as
reminded me of
well.
the
Yeah.
last,
Yeah.
the what's the video game?
Jedi Fallen
the
Order.
Jedi Fallen
That was-
Order.
I got-
That's exactly what was
exactly
where
what I
Vader
him using
prevents the
Force.
water.
Yeah.
Vader prevents
That's
the water
basically
from coming in, and it might have been the same hallway, and Obi-Wan does the same thing. One thing that I find interesting, I'm not going to say it's a plot hole. I'm not going to say it's BS because lives were on the lines, but it's just interesting. It's interesting that he uses the Force less than 5 times, I feel like, this whole episode. The first time he struggles to pull a coin or some small
Yeah.
item. The second time is to create a sound. And the third time is to prevent basically struggles to use it. The third time prevents all of this water pressure from coming in and killing people. Now, people can do insane things when lives are on the line, especially children. I'm not going to doubt that it's possible, but I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, that was a
Well, the
big
stakes
leap.
are higher.
Yeah, it's totally plausible. I'm not going to say it was BS. I'm not going to say, but I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, he went from 0 to 90% very quickly and totally plausible. But I thought it was definitely interesting.
Along that line, I had a similar reaction to Roken, who was the new character that we had
yeah.
introduced, which is
Yes.
sort of like the proto-rebel, like the first signs of the rebellion that we've seen. I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more context on
what was that relationship?
how
His wife.
Oh, this
where,
Jedi was
why,
this
yeah.
Jedi had the attachment.
But I didn't rate the characters as high as I have on some of the other ones. I gave it a 3.2 because I felt this character, when he brings up Obi-Wan's you don't know what the Empire is capable of.
right when he said that, I was like,
that was such a hasty judgment, man. But then he talks about how his wife was Force sensitive, and then by the end of that thought, he's like, you know what, I will help you. And I feel like he didn't earn that whole 180. That felt more of a plot reach than the broken glass. Go ahead, Luke.
So here's the thing. You noticed he called him General, right? Okay. So in Legends, Jabim is known in the Clone Wars as one of the bloodiest and worst battles in the entire Clone Wars.
Oh.
So maybe they are making a nod to that's why he is like that when he sees Obi-Wan, because he knows who Obi-Wan is.
Yeah.
Hence why he's calling him General. See, it's little things
Mm-hmm.
that like that.
Yeah,
That
I wouldn't
is,
have picked that up necessarily.
It's so nice that I guess, not to toot my own horn, but I know a lot about the world and I know a lot about the canon. And I know a lot of other extra stuff. And I feel like that's the benefit of me knowing all of this, is that I can explain, there can be like somebody can say that's a plot hole, but it's well, there's a possibility that could be an answer for what you're looking for. You know what I mean? And I really thought that he was going to be Quinlan Voss, because I was one of those people that just he could do it. He's got the wits.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that he's a new character.
Yeah.
And I hope that he survives this, and I hope Talos survives this to be part of Andor.
Yeah,
moving
that's what I was
forward.
thinking too. Even if Tala doesn't survive, there's a possibility that she could be.
Oh, they'll bring her back for something.
Yeah,
She's
that
a
was
great
one thing
character.
that I noted. I was like, I really hope that we get to see her in Andor.
Yeah,
She's
Oh,
a
yeah,
great character.
absolutely.
That's where I think the stakes were high. Cause like Obi and Leia, I'm not worried they're gonna
Yeah,
die.
they
I'm
got
not
Because
plot.
worried.
you know
yeah,
where they're gonna.
they've got
Those
plot
stakes-
armor.
Those
They got
stakes aren't
plot
high.
armor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But Tala
Now,
and like Riva, what
yeah.
happened to them?
Amanda, you gave this a 66.8% overall.
Mm-hmm.
I
Which-
mean,
Which isn't that great. I get it.
no,
It
it's
took
bad.
it took a
It's
little. I gave this story a 2.8 because I felt like it wasn't so much about the story driving it. The characters a 3.2. Technical aspects we all discussed was our highest score. I think it was because of that great
And
scene
these are
that we
all out of
got.
5 stars for new listeners.
Yeah, I think it's
That
because of that
setting and
great
scale, it
scene
looked good.
in the tomb, and then when all the lights are off and Obi-Wan takes his saber out and zoom,
Yes.
zoom.
Yeah.
That was cool. Music solid 3, immersive universe 3.4. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more from in the Fortress Inquisitorius, which I just gotta say sounds like a really bad Harry Potter spell.
Yeah, that
I dig
that
it.
makes sense.
All right. That was cool. I walked out of that episode feeling pretty good about it. It wasn't great. As I said, it could be the writers, it could be an executive.
You ranked it the
could be-
highest out of all of us.
Yeah.
I did. I gave it a
So-
73% overall for those listening. Why it's for me, it's a C, a C minus. It's worth watching. It's entertaining. It's not great. It's not challenging. The story for me, 2.2 stars. Very tropey. I mean, we've seen this kind of extraction story a bazillion times before. In fact, I think we've seen it 2 or 3 times in Obi-Wan so far. Just kind of repeating the same type of story outline. The characters, though, 4.1 out of 5 stars, whatever that is, like 82% or something. They were fantastic. I mean, that conversation between Riva and Leia, I just
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it. It was fantastic. And people that have been, I know there's been a lot of hate about Riva's character, and I'm not going to dive into any of
No.
that. But what
Yeah.
I will say is that I wanted to give her a chance to prove herself. And for me, she's doing that. The actress is, I'm buying into the hate. I'm buying into, okay, like I didn't want her to be a redeemable character. And so far, she's not. But you see that, yeah, at one point in time, I was like, you kid. And she kind of has that sympathy. And I appreciated those scenes. I liked it a lot. Obi-Wan for me, decent enough character. I buy that.
We got a comment that says, "Be careful, Brody. Luke is stroking his beard."
Yeah, exactly. ready to go in on something. But before he just rails everything I'm about to say, I do want to add that the technical aspects were also fantastic. I don't know why you only gave it an 80%, Christian, because for me, it's just beautiful. I mean, some of these money shots they had, like the Fortress Inquisitorius.
I think part of
even at
that's like
thousands.
part of that
cost.
for me, like it's great. I don't know, like perfect is hard to give out and dole out all the time, but they resorted back to the shaky camera again, and that's another like personal gripe of mine. But I get why they do it.
They
like
use the
it goes
text.
for that effect, and like I get why they do it. I
get it. I get what you're saying there, but and I didn't give it 5 stars myself. But they used the voice de-aging technology for
and that's
James
cool.
Earl Jones, and it's fantastic. It was so good. So you have that. The immersive universe for me, 4.2 stars. I was talking to Luke this week, and I don't remember his name, but the dinosaur-looking old Jedi who
Hereth Nube. That hit hard.
He's
Let me tell you,
embalmed.
when we
he's
watched,
embalmed in the museum of
It's-
fallen Jedi.
yeah, it's
like,
tough.
The immersive universe is strong. The Jedi Fallen Order reference. There's
Yeah.
a lot that's strong there. The music, I even gave 3.3 stars. I gave Natalie Holt some credit. Still nothing iconic, yet still something to be seen if she has the ability to do that with this show. Maybe she will in the last 2 episodes, but so far she's been very milquetoast as far as this specific performance goes for me. But still, 3.3 stars. She added the right kind of emphasis and helped spurn the right emotions in this episode needed, but didn't really stand out. So for me, 73.6% overall is what I gave this episode. Meaning in total, our review for episode 4 was a 67.07%.
How do you feel about that, Luke?
I mean, I don't love it. But
it sounds harsher than it is, though.
no, it does. But I understand your guys' rankings.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't. So
We're only 0.2 behind IMDb.
that you are
6.9.
now. Here's the thing. I agree. I mean, having episode 3 have all the highs that it had,
Mm-hmm.
You
and
kind of
then
knew it was
follow,
going to be
you
this way.
you follow it up with, okay, so we need an explanation of how to get from point A to point B, and this is your episode to do that. I when we were doing our reaction, it wasn't my favorite. I think I even said I wish it would have been a little bit longer. But I mean, some things just you can't control that. You can't control time. You can't. It's at the end of the day, it's all up to the execs. What do the execs think?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if this is going to be a 39-minute episode, the next 2 episodes could be 54 minutes, and it could make
Exactly.
up for that.
That's what I.
So,
It seems like it's setting it
Maybe.
up for that.
Yeah.
Like we kind of get set up at the end of this episode with evil Lola, which is
yes.
exciting.
Yes.
And then we also have that touching handhold between Leia and
So
Yeah.
also, so I saw this on Twitter. It was 3 different stills. It was that
Mhm.
still, and no, maybe it was just 2. It was that still in her consoling Luke. And I think the caption said is Leia's always been the one that is comforting people, even though she's been more traumatized.
Oh.
And she even looks okay. So her outfits, if you haven't noticed, so when she first gets ready, when they first dress her up in the first episode,
Mhm.
that's supposed to be an homage to her Bespin look.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then the one in episode 2, there's one point where she's in a orange, or like Obi-Wan puts her in orange. That's supposed to be the handmaidens from episode 1.
Mhm.
And then this last one from 3 and 4 is her in
Endor. Yeah.
Yep.
look. And then at the end of this episode is she's all in white. She's in white, a white t-shirt or a white shirt, and it's supposed to mirror A New Hope. So I like how it's mirrored that way. And I think that's been well done.
I also wanted to say that Brody sent a video of his son looking, or with Star Wars playing on in the background, the recap of the Obi-Wan episode, and he was like, Vader, Vader, and then he kept saying Bad Batch, which wasn't what we were watching, but it reminded me
Cornerstone of all Star Wars content for him.
it reminded me so much, because I don't have kids, what this series and
Yes.
show is like really all
Yes.
about, and how
Yeah.
special it is to see a Star Wars story starring a young child, a young human child, not like Grogu.
Yes.
And like, even though the show is a little bit darker and scarier than some of the other Star Wars content made for kids are going to grow up and watch it anyway and feel like Leia in that moment. And it made me
Absolutely.
really just joyful and happy to have this story.
Yeah, and like all the time, like, yeah, it's for kids. It's meant to be enjoyed. They're not like critically thinking about,
No.
examining
Right.
all this. That's why I tell people like Brody ruined Star Wars for me, because he asked me to join this podcast and start critiquing Star Wars all the time.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
now I'm critiquing Star Wars all the time, and people get uncomfortable when you critique Star Wars all the time. But
No,
had I
it's-
watched this episode without, ranking it, like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah, I loved it.
But critically looking at it, to me, like, I don't think it, like, Luke, you were saying it gets us from A to B. I'm thinking that distance isn't as long as I would have wanted it to be. It's like chop chop. We don't have that much time in this series. Let's make A to B a ride worth riding,
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
That's a
I
fair
can
critique.
that's fair. At least that's fair. At least you're not saying
I hate it because
I hate it because of this and
Yeah.
that and this and not giving me reasons.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fair critique.
And
I'm enough
also, none of us are saying that we hate it. Which
Oh,
is
no,
also,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, yeah.
And
We're
that's the
all
thing.
definitely fans of it.
You guys are looking at it from a different lens, and
Yeah.
it's making me appreciate that, because
Yeah.
what we do is we just consume it. and we take it for what it is.
That
And we
sounds like
don't
a fun show to be on.
we enjoy it, and but that's the best thing about being on the show is that you guys are starting to open up my eyes, and I see it
Mhm.
now. Story wise, that whole escape. All right, let's look at it from a canonization standpoint here,
Okay.
and in Star Wars in general. Okay, look at
Right.
all of the films. The good guys have to go save somebody,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Empire sucks at they have terrible security.
Yeah.
So why should this be any different? You know what I mean? Like the Empire is underfunded. They buy the cheapest stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hence why, because they spent all of it on 2 separate Death Stars. Let's just call
Yeah.
it this. And it makes sense. Yes, could they have maybe stopped Obi-Wan in Tala earlier? Yeah, but they're in lockdown. They're not looking. They're going towards where the situation is.
Mhm.
So that's what I would throw whenever I hear those types of critiques. I always throw out lore.
Yeah.
Because it's like, think about it this way. Like, there is so much going on in that scene. Like like you would have thought that the 5th brother and the 5th sister would have at least sensed Obi-Wan at
Right.
that time.
Mhm.
But they were so into getting Reva and
Mhm.
punishing Reva that it didn't really matter at that point. So it's
Yeah.
just, I see all these things, and it's like, there's answers for this. There's logical
Yeah.
answers for these, and it's just,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel like it's lost, but it's not with you guys at all, because you guys are looking at it from a critical standpoint.
And we have the table to keep
Yes,
us like
yes.
consistent
Keep us
with it.
accountable.
yes,
Yeah.
keeping it from 100 to not just being like, oh well, this just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like
Exactly.
you guys give a reason of why.
Mhm.
Hey, I didn't like this, but in overall, you're not letting the negative and it bring down your love for the
Oh,
show.
I was
Oh,
talking.
yeah.
I was talking to someone today who was like, "You gave that a 73%." And I was like, "I did," and he's like, "I just don't see how you could do that." And he gave me a lot of nitpicky reasons, which I can get very nitpicky myself. But I was like, "Okay, well, I asked him. I'm like, do you think the technical aspects were less than?" He's like, "Oh, okay, that's closer to 5 stars." Okay, what do you think about the music? What do you think about all these things? And I'm like, "All right, so you gave that a 6.7.
Ah,
Interesting." So,
mm.
because but it's true. Like you see with Last Jedi, a lot of folks were just like, "These things suck. This movie sucks." I'm
Yeah.
like, well, when you
Let's-
look at it as a
break it
whole,
down.
it doesn't.
Now, if there
actually.
was a category in our table that was just like pure personal enjoyment, that would change the weight of so many
Oh, yeah.
things
Yep,
too.
but this is a critical
this is-
lens.
yeah.
Yeah, this
very
is-
different.
Yeah, that's what your
We
guys
don't care about
thing
your
is.
feelings.
I
This
know,
actually,
right?
this
No.
segues very well into my hot take. So, with all of that to be said, Amanda, what was the final? Again, for the listeners who missed it earlier, what was the final score?
I don't have it up right now.
banter while she looks it up.
Yeah.
It's I mean, like I said, this episode it had so much ahead of it, from what we saw in episode 3.
Okay, 67.07%.
Yeah.
All right. With
There
that
we
said,
go.
we're moving into the next segment of the show, the hot takes time. You ready, Luke?
Oh.
Let's bring it.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It's hot takes time, and you better believe I'm coming.
He's coming. I mean, you've been coming at me all night,
full
so I'd be
swing.
disappointed if you didn't.
I'm swinging for the fences today. It's
Oh boy. here
I
we go.
know. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. So here's my thing. You cannot hold this. My hot take, I will say, as the person who gave it the highest score here, I won't hold this against what we saw. Okay, so it doesn't affect the rating, but I don't feel like this episode needed to be made in the way it was made, in the way it was delivered. It should have been. In my mind, this was a great episode to explore. They did a little in the beginning, the duality between Obi-Wan and Vader and show that they are going through the same struggles on completely different sides of the spectrum. Furthermore, you could have made this episode more so about Vader than Obi-Wan, Reva, anyone else. We've seen it in other shows. Now, I complained about that in the Book of Boba Fett when they did it with Mando. Reason being, it was the first time we saw Mando, but these two stories are so, I mean, this is the light and the dark, the yin, the yang. These two, you don't think of Obi-Wan without Anakin at this point. So it would have made sense to go back and see the early years of Vader and those struggles and Palpatine tormenting him and him going out and helping build that Inquisitor force and going and hunting younger Jedi. That would have been a much more satisfying story than what we were delivered, because let's face it, as great as Reva was and as great as young Leia was, those were not the characters we signed up for when watching this show.
Okay, but you know what? If you would have gotten what you requested, you would have had the same feedback as you did in Book of Boba Fett when you were like, "Why didn't we just call this Mandalorian season 3?" You would have been like, "Why didn't we just call this Vader show?
well,
It's called Obi-Wan Kenobi."
Hold on. So this is where the emotions are coming in.
It's hot take.
And
It
this is so much fun, because now I can point out that what you want, Brody, could be the rumored season 2, but it's not called Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It's called Inquisitor or the Inquisitorius or something, and Vader is part of that.
Mhm.
And
They gotta do
also,
it soon. Vader, I mean, James Earl Jones
also-
is 92. He's
Yes,
92. We gotta get
yeah,
going.
but
Wrap it
hold
up.
on. They're using that new technology, the AI technology, to help with that voice, which is once James Earl Jones is gone, which will be the worst day in all of history, and I hope it never happens. They have something to back up that they can use. And what I've been hearing from that AI that's been helping him is he sounds like Empire Strikes Back Vader. And I absolutely love that. Now, also, Brody, don't forget, you can get that media in 2017 Darth Vader comic run by Charles Soule.
You're right. And all those things, in its own show, and the comics exist. That's all true. And as to Amanda's rebuttal, I did also say that in my point. The difference there is that in Mandalorian, it was an introduction of a new character where it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was a hard right turn. Whereas this character has already been introduced. We already have the history. It made a whole lot of sense. And if there is any point to dive into any other character's lore, background, understanding, and help that pair up to where we are today, you could even use more of Obi-Wan's timeline at that point. This is the episode to dive into that history. And you wouldn't have to run for 39 minutes. You could have gone closer to an hour going that way. It would have been a lot more satisfying. A lot more people would be happy. Again, 6.8 on IMDb, not a strong score. So, yeah, I think that would have helped out a lot. Missed layup again. Disney Star Wars. Christian, what are your thoughts?
Well, did Luke have any more to say on that?
When do I get my hot take? Because I've got one.
Oh, after we discuss
You
it.
go, because I've got thoughts.
I think I see what you're saying, Brody. And yeah, that's like, it is a hot take, ruffles some feathers. Yeah, I think I probably would have rather seen that. Like, if you would have presented those as two options. So sure, I'll give you the thumbs up.
Thank you, Amanda.
Sure, I guess in the scenario where you have like two storyboards up and you're like, you could go this scenario or this scenario, I'd be like, I want to see more Hayden Christensen as Vader. Sure.
Get your money's worth out of Hayden, right?
But to your same point, it shouldn't be called Obi-Wan Kenobi, then it should be called
part of his history.
before
Mando's not a part of
before New
Boba's
Hope.
history. Mando's not a part of Boba's history. Mando's his own thing.
What did
Book
I
of
say
Boba
that
Fett, but then it was Mando.
No,
wait.
not.
Boba showed up in Mando's show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I know, but there's so much more history. It makes so much more sense. It makes so much
Does
more
it
sense.
make so much more sense, Christian?
I don't-
that Boba showed
So
up there,
much- yeah.
than Mando showing up in
Yeah.
his.
No, I'm saying Vader having his own backstory episode makes a lot more sense than Mando having his own in the Book of Boba Fett. Out of nowhere, first introduction, we have him, and
That's not the point you made.
It is.
All I
said it.
know is, like, to his point, like, I will say, when I look back on this episode, the highlight for me was I enjoyed the back to tank scene, I think, the most.
Yeah, it was
like
great.
I really liked that. And I thought that was like, I was like, oh man,
Imagine that for
that's
an hour.
I was like, I never would have pictured I ever would have gotten that with new Star Wars content. Watching that, I was like, that is really cool. And like they're
Disney
like
Star Wars,
connected,
taking
or like
baths.
like Vader in the tank is very like he's in pain or he's wincing or like making that he's got this some kind of attempted connection.
Alana says, I'm formally requesting an unburnt Anakin and Obi-Wan stare down for a full 35-minute episode. That's it.
Yeah.
Boom.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that would be an
There you
excellent
go.
episode.
That'd
You know
be-
what,
that'd be
Brody?
cool.
I'm going to
It's called the
officially...
Clone Wars. It's called the Clone Wars. Watch that show.
I'm gonna officially say that it's milk toast because I'm not my feathers aren't ruffled.
What?
Yeah.
That's milk toast. All
All
right,
right.
that's cool.
All
All
right.
right, so then Luke, what do you think? Was that a good take, a bad take, or just a milk toast take?
I don't hate what you were saying.
Do you
I-
agree with me then?
Is it a hot take?
I
Just
don't- I
come to
don't-
the
I-
side of
eh.
the force.
It's milk
I
toast.
thought it was.
means
I thought
milk
it was
toast.
meh. I thought it was to be
You
honest.
thought
like
that
I,
was meh?
like I wouldn't hate.
Let me go in a little
that
bit harder then. Let me go. I'm sorry. Let me
Oh,
double
okay.
down on
Oh.
one more point.
Okay.
Oh.
Reva's nowhere near, not half as interesting as Darth Vader. Not half as interesting. One out
That's
of
not
10.
even fair.
That's not
That's
fair
not even
because
fair.
Not
no,
even
no, no,
half
hold
as
on,
We're
hold
talking
on.
about
That's
a new character versus
exactly.
like
not half as exactly. We only got 6 episodes. We're episode 4. Why are you
just
showing
play the
me?
milk toast sound
All
bite.
right, General Grievous, come on in.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
That
I-
is
I-
fantastic. I love that. I don't even care. Like you could say my take's that, and I would laugh the entire time.
I swung really hard, and I just got to give the sound bite. So what do you do? But Luke, you have a hot
You
take.
have one.
So with all of this kind of people complaining about the Clone Wars flashback not being the flashback, right? I will say that the back to tank scene means more to that relationship of Obi-Wan and Anakin than a flashback from the Clone Wars could have ever done.
Mm.
Mm.
And I will die by that because if you look at the scene, the way it was shot,
Yeah.
you get the parallels of Obi-Wan trying to
Yeah,
get
I'm gonna
back
agree.
in form, and then you see Vader in a lot of ways. If you look at the back to tanks, you look at Obi-Wan's. It's very calm. It's not doing much. It's not. And then you go to Anakin's, and it's steamy.
Actually, I disagree.
And it's
Mm.
it's just the way you see Hayden act and do all these emotions because they're so connected in the Force at this point that I just think that it does more than any flashback could have done in that episode.
Okay, flashbacks. You're right. I
Well-
feel like there's more impactful moments.
So I agree with you, Luke, but I'm not privy to like all the haters out there. Like, I don't know what you're talking about when people are saying what's a Clone Wars flashback that we're
Well, they just
expecting to see?
they just wanted Hayden and Ewan in Clone Wars armor
Yeah.
running around
Like
doing
live
the-
action.
Yeah, like
Yes,
Hayden
instead of
without the mask.
animated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
I changed my stance. I agree
Yes,
with you.
that's
Yeah.
what people want. And
Never mind.
I would I hate it? No, but
Yeah.
is it
I would
necessary?
still cry.
Yeah, exactly. But like this scene here is more impactful than any Clone Wars scene in live action that they could have done.
Yeah.
And I will go to the grave on that.
I agree with you. I don't.
Maybe,
I
I'm
totally
everywhere on
agree
this
with
one.
you, man. I don't know. I think your logic is irrefutable. So I don't know
agree
how
because
I don't know how it would ruffle anyone's feathers too, because it's like
So
I
you're
don't.
well,
saying
it
milk
would
toast.
it would ruffle feathers
Would
for
it?
sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
you get the right fan. I tell you what,
a lot of
they'll
people,
convert it.
are
I gotta
upset
find
about
this
it,
person.
but
the one guy, this
The
one
one-
hater
Let
on
me find
Twitter.
But
No,
I agree with you.
yeah, I agree too because again, like not having to rely on the old story and like things that they've already done and said before. This is them in the current moment doing something new with this new format. I
It's
think
real
we would
time.
get tired of, oh, okay, we're going back and retelling this thing that we've already seen before.
Yeah, it's real time as opposed to a memory,
Yeah.
and like real time is
And we've never seen these
character development.
characters in this time in their life. So
It's true. No, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I can't. I'm not gonna agree. I'm not gonna disagree. I guess
So you're milquetoast, and we're agreeing. So
Yeah.
he gets a Roger.
Yeah, get our Roger.
Roger, Luke.
Yeah, get our Roger.
There
All
you
right. Well,
go.
any other hot takes for this episode, Amanda or Christian? Nothing.
I think my score was just a hot take for you, I guess.
Your score. That was very low.
Yeah.
Like way lower than I thought. You teetering on the 50%.
How close was it to Amanda's score?
Like 8% off.
He gave it a 15.2, and I gave it a 16.7. So,
Pretty close.
and Brody gave it an 18.4.
So here's the question. Okay, so you guys are ranking every episode individually, okay?
Yeah.
So are you guys gonna bring me back when all the episodes are brought together and then ranking them? Because
We
I
can
feel
maybe
like
do a
I've
post Obi-Wan
I've-
episode.
We actually we have a current ranking based on actually where they're all at right now.
because I will feel like if you want to go back and look at your takes and want to change them after the next two
Ooh, I
I
episodes,
can't do that.
Yeah.
maybe you would.
I can't do that because then that's not fair. Then that's 2020 vision. You got to go based on what you know.
Yeah.
No, 76.77% is where the show is at right now. Remember, everyone, I said 75% is what I said this show was going to be when it was all said and done. I don't think that's going to be true now because I think they're going to come out these next two episodes
Swinging.
pretty intensely.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah,
right now
absolutely.
that's where it's at, and unfortunate. I think a little more Vader last time would have done a lot, but apparently that take doesn't ruffle anyone's feathers. So we're just going to move on to the next segment of the show. Force Ghost Charlie, what time is it?
This is the way to trivia time!
It's trivia time, and I have the question this week. Okay. It's actually a kind of a nice segue for me because it's all about the Clone Wars. So, all right, I'm going to pull this up
All right.
here. Now, Reva mentions that they've intercepted a transmission from Balnab, or Balnab, I don't know. Balnab is a planet first seen in the Clone Wars Season 4, Episode 6. What my question is what is the name of that episode? Now, I made it kind of easy here. You have A, the Zillo Beast. The Zillo Beast Strikes Back. You have B, the Phantom Apprentice. You have C, the Carnage of Krell.
What is read this front of the question again?
Okay, so the question is, Reva mentions that they've intercepted a transmission from Balnab. Balnab is a planet that was first seen in the Clone Wars Season 4, Episode 6. Was it A, the Nomad Droids, B, the Zillo Beast Strikes Back, C, the Phantom Apprentice, or D, the Carnage of Krell?
I'm going to say A, what was it called again?
There's a Nomad
Nomad
Droids. Was
The
A.
Nomad Droids, yeah.
I was just gonna, I don't know. So I'm gonna guess A. I wanted to just wait until Luke answered because he's a Clone Wars guy.
All right. Well, that leaves it up to Luke. Luke, what do you think?
It is. I'm almost positive that it's A. It's either A or C because Krell is Umbara
Yeah.
and what in the Zillo Beast Strikes Back is on Coruscant. So it's in between A and C. And let's go A. I think A is
All
a
of
good
us in
option.
A.
You're all sure. If you stick with this, you're all equally wrong. No one's moving up the leaderboard. We're sure here.
Yeah.
Well, all right. If you want to go that way, that's the wise way to go because it's
Okay,
correct. It
that's
is
what I
Nomad
thought.
Droids.
Thought so.
You guys
Okay, that's
did
the one where
good.
they go to like the underground like water.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the one where
That-
Brody and I joined Luke's show.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
you guys
thought.
should
That's
know
what I
that.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought, and that's why I went with that because I was like, he's gonna pull something to where he's gonna pick the episode that these two
Look at
jokers
that.
were on. And he's gonna
Immersive
expect
universe
me not to
between
get it.
podcasts.
It's canon.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Luke, for all of the people that want to check out the Pod Ones podcast, where do they go?
So you guys can follow us on TikTok at the Pod Ones Podcast, the Pod Ones Pod on Instagram, and Pod Ones Podcast on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. We have a show where we go through all of the episodes of the Clone Wars. We are currently live right now as we speak. They are talking about the gathering arc of the younglings in season 5.
Ooh, when they go get their Kyber crystals.
Yes, and then they meet Hondo Anaka,
Yes!
the
Ah,
prophet.
what a great
Prophet.
story. I love that.
Also, Florum being mentioned in this episode. That was cool.
Mm.
And then we do reactions to all of the Disney Plus shows, live action or cartoon, or animated, I should say. They're not cartoon. The word cartoon is frowned upon nowadays, but animated. And then we also have roundtables, which I believe I'm gonna try to get some folks here on either the finale roundtable or the one coming up. So go check us out there on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter is where we get the podcast. But thank you guys for having me on. It was a pleasure. Hopefully I will be back again soon. Hopefully I didn't roast you guys too badly.
No, it was a joy
No.
having you on.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Tons of fun. Listeners, be sure to go check out the Pod Ones podcast. It's a lot of fun, slightly biased. I mean, been on there myself with Christian, so I got to experience it firsthand and help with their trivia, and it was a lot of fun. And so, yes, go check out the Pod Ones podcast. For those wanting to check out more about Duel of the Ranks, Amanda, where do they go?
Check us out at dueloftheranks.com, where you can see any of our previous episodes and rankings. You can submit your own hot takes to be read on the show and even shop some of our merch. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok soon.
Yeah.
All right, soon to be TikTok. Again, listeners, thanks so much for checking out this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, and be sure to tune in next week as we break down Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 5. Maybe by then it'll be a little bit better than Stranger Things Season 4. So
Ooh.
far,
Haven't seen it.
not really, but maybe then. All right, folks, see you then.